Welcome back to the channel, guys. So we're out here on a job we just finished a few days ago. I think we drilled this about 4 days ago. And we're here to put in, we're here to put in, damn, the grout settled tremendously. Good thing I didn't lose my well seal. But I did lose my bag of chlorine, but it's neither here nor there. I got some more. But we're basically here to put in what I would consider a premium pump system. And what I'm doing right now is I'm checking the static water level of the well. This is kind of one of the most important aspects of installing a pump system, to know how deep you can put a pump based on the gallons per minute of the well and based on the static water level. So it shows us we have 29 foot to water. So since we have 29 foot to water, the well makes 20 gallons per minute, and we stamp static water level 30 because that's typical in this area. We're installing a Grundfos SQ-250 in this well. It's only 165 foot depth, and we put 77 foot of casing in it. So because the water level in the well is very close to the surface, we're gonna set the pump in the casing. Now, not all scenarios you can do that, but if you can actually set the pump inside of the PVC casing, that severely reduces the amount of sediment that will ever be introduced into the house. So you'll get either no need for a filter, or you'll have a really, really long filter life. We have 77 foot of casing. So I'm gonna put this SQ-250 in this well about 72 feet of pipe, because the length of the pump is gonna put it at around 75 foot. And we had stamped it 70 foot. Because the well makes 20 gallons a minute and the pump itself is a 15 gallon a minute pump, it should balance out perfectly fine. Now, because the grout settled, we have grout settle on a lot of our jobs, especially if we hit surface water. Then a lot of our bentonite will go down and plug up that vein. So we always bring pelletized chipped bentonite with us to fill it in for whatever depth that it settles. This one kind of settled a lot. But it sounds to me, just on how it sounds, it's probably down there about 12 feet. So we've got 10 bags with us. We're gonna go ahead and fill it up to the top. This should bring it up. One more. Need one more. It's close. Now, while Mike takes care of finishing the grout, we're gonna start the trench, and I have to mark the underground power so we can cross it. All right, so we've got our Fisher Research Labs underground cable locator. There's your main power coming into the house. This is probably one of the best tools I've invested for us. Right there, it tells us the depth of the power line is 2 foot 5 inches. I'm gonna take my heel, put a little mark there. I'll mark these later. I'm just kind of doing this on camera right now for y'all. I need 4 arms if I'm gonna use a can of spray paint. Always good to mark your lines. The power company should have left flags out here, but they didn't. You can kind of see the ditch now. You see it going from here, it goes all the way down right here. Yeah, they did a good job here. They got it 3 feet deep. And that'll be it, because what we have to do, the reason why I'm marking this, we're entering the basement right there. Then we're gonna tee off of it and bring a water line this direction, because the homeowner is gonna build him a garage right here on this flat surface, but he's not gonna do that for the next 3 to 4 years. So we're gonna set a yard hydrant somewhere in this vicinity So that means we have to cross the main power. Since we're bringing a water line this direction in a trench, he's gonna drop a wire, a big heavy aluminum cable, from that panel box and bring it over here with us. And he's gonna just kind of stub it up out the ground for his future needs. So he's knocking out 2 birds in 1 stone. So that's why we're marking the power. A regular system, we don't have to cross it, only for the yard hydrant. So see what I did here? So we've got our first mark, 1 foot 9 inches deep. Come back here, we've got 2 feet deep. And the sun kind of kills it. My spray paint can is a little empty. There's my line, 2 foot. Come back here, 2 foot 9 inches. Come up here, it was 3 foot. And this is basically where we're gonna cross. So even though the system says that it's 2 foot 9 inches to 3 feet deep, when we get here with the excavator, we're only gonna dig about 12 inches deep, and then we dig on both sides deeper and we carry out the center of that ditch with a shovel. We deepen it with a shovel in the area that we cross. So there's no confusion, there's no chance of ripping out the power. Looks good. Next step, we're gonna have to clean this out, make it completely level, compact it, and then drill a hole through it with a hammer drill. Now, while I'm working in the basement and all that stuff to get our basement entry and our hydrant, Mike is over here working on rolling out the SQ-250 pump system. Now, we're putting this pump in at exactly 75 feet, which is going to basically require about 72 feet of pipe. I talked to the homeowner. He says, do it like you do your own. So this is exactly how I would do my own. Because the well makes 20 gallons a minute, it honestly, it makes about 30. We hit the water right around 90 feet. So I don't want to put the pump below where the water comes into the well, because where your water comes in the well, it also has the potential to bring in sediment, especially a high production well. So if you can keep the pump above the water bearing zone, you also decrease the amount of sediment. And because this well makes so much water, there's not really a need to have the pump super deep. Okay, that's 75 feet right there, Mike, from the bottom of the pump. So we're gonna cut it right there in the middle of that wheel, and then that's where we'll set it. So this is a 15 gallon a minute pump. Will flow up to 18 gallons a minute inside 1-inch pipe. And the customer, the reason why we're upgrading it is because he actually owns his own tank. He supplied his own tank. And he has the equivalent of a well X-trol 250, which is essentially a 44 gallon bladder tank. So we can put this in and it not affect anything because of the increased gallons per minute. He already has the bigger tank. So we want to keep cycle times somewhere between 30 seconds to a minute of the pump turning off, then on, then off again. If you had a smaller tank, say like a 20 gallon tank, then that 15 gallon a minute pump is probably gonna cycle a lot faster. You know, maybe a 20-second cycle time. So when you upgrade to a higher flow, higher gallon per minute pump, it's best to have a slightly larger tank, like a 44 gallon tank. Or the cheapest way to do it is to plumb in 2 20 gallon tanks. Just have one side by side. One tank has all your controls. Another tank sits there, just tees into the system. You just make sure you set them both at the same air pressure, and you basically get a 40 gallon storage setup using 2 20 gallon tanks. I've actually got a trailer park running the same way. It just uses 8 20 gallon bladder tanks rather than, you know, two or three 86 gallon bladder tanks. That way, if one dies, you just replace that one tank. You don't, you know, you're not out the system and a big cost for an expensive tank. It's cheaper to buy 2 20 gallon tanks than it is to buy one 44 gallon tank. Okay, I'm gonna start the process of cleaning that ditch out and get the hammer drill and start cutting a hole through that basement wall. So we're down here in the basement. This is his big 44 gallon tank that he had purchased, and his tank tee and all that. We're gonna do away with that check valve. because the yard hydrant would not work correctly with that check valve in the system. But what we're here to do is penetrate the basement wall, and we measured from the hydrant outside we need to be 44 inches, right? So we don't want to hit this beam. So it looks like from the bottom of the hydrant, or the frost-proof faucet through the wall, looks like the beam runs right at around 39 to 40 inches, and we're going to penetrate the wall kind of right here between the 42 and 44 inch mark. So that means we're going to be right here. So I'm going to put a little divot with my finger. I'm going to drill first a little, like I don't know, 3/8 to a 1/2 inch hole, and then we're going to do a bigger 1 7/8 inch hole. All right. So the way these superior walls work is typically there's going to be a concrete stud every so often, and those studs might be 8 inches thick and 4 inches wide. Everywhere else is just going to be basically 2 inches thick. So we're going to take this rod here and push. See how far that went in? That went in pretty far. So if you push it in, and like if you were to do it over here, it only goes in that deep. See right there? That's literally 3/4 of thick of foam, 6 inches thick of foam. So we know that we don't have a stud here, no stud there, and no stud there. So I'm not going to catch a concrete stud on either side. That's absolutely the worst thing when you're hammer drilling and you run into part of a stud. It makes your bit want to walk off that stud and find the path of least resistance. A lot of times in those studs are going to be like rebarb. So you can't drill through the rebarb either. All right, time to cut a hole. You're right on top of it right now. So let's check the depth. Should be right here. Still 1 foot 6 inches from the bottom of this.
1 foot, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and get a little
So
bit.
we're still a foot. We got a foot of dirt there. All right. So what we got to do, he wants that heavy aluminum cable ran through this ditch, and then the water line to the hydrant is going to be run through this ditch. And the power comes straight through right where the blade of the bucket is. That's where the main power is. Comes right through here. There's my orange mark up to the conduit. So a lot of stuff here we have to be very, very careful. Just finished drilling my pilot hole with the hammer drill. Let's go back in the basement, check to make sure we don't run into that beam. I should be about 2 or 3 inches below it. It is scalding hot out here. I feel so good in this basement. So eager to just hurry up and get down here. My whole shirt's soaking wet. All right, let's see. It's so close. Look at that. So these were my marks, right? That was my finger imprint, and that's exactly where we came through. So very close. Perfect. Now it's time to cut the big hole for our PVC sleeve for our pipe and our wire to go through. It took me about, I don't know, about 6 or 8 minutes. Got my big hole cut. Now we're gonna go in the basement. We're gonna use the Sawzall because we gotta cut all that foam out of the way to where we can seal and waterproof the inside and the outside of the basement entry. This is how I do all my basement entries, and so far I haven't really had any issues with them. There's multiple ways to skin a cat, multiple ways for people to do stuff. I don't think one way is right or one way is wrong. I'm just sharing with you how I do it. So there's our hole, and see how much foam that is? It's really, really thick of foam. So what I do is I come here with the Sawzall. Hard doing this with one hand. Go all the way in, down, like so. Like that. And then I got to pick out all that white foam. this kind of makes a mess. But it gives you good access to the back side of the concrete wall. You can see just how much, you know, breaks out, so you can repair it. You can do that with two things. You can either use hydraulic cement, which a lot of guys use. We use NP1 urethane caulk. Anybody who uses NP1 caulk knows just how good it is. And once you use it, you literally don't buy any other style of caulking. This is the end result that we're left with. We've got a nice little pocket here. We can slip our pipe through, and I'll show you how I do it. I basically use a Fernco connector, cut it in half, and sandwich it together. It gives me a Fernco outside, one on the inside, and we push them together, and that kind of gives us a little bit to prevent the sleeve from sliding, is what the Ferncos are for. And then we just caulk all this up. It's really good. You got to get all the concrete dust off because the caulk does not stick to it. So sometimes I'll get like my bottle of water and I'll wash any of the concrete dust off. Then it has to dry in order for that caulk to stick to it. But you can actually mold the MP1 caulk as long as it's got a little bit of wetness, a little bit of moisture. But all right, I got to clean that up. Now that I'm finished with the basement entry, I'm going to come up here and we're going to take a look at what Mike did to the pump system, and then we're going to drop it in the hole. All right, so SQ-250, 1 horsepower, 15 gallon a minute. We've got a stainless steel pump fitting here, 2 clamps, taped it all the way up, got his wire splice right there, taped the wire to the pipe every 2 feet, all the way up. Let me see the well seal. So this is the well seal. We've got our brass 90 here, switched over to PVC. Got our little well vent to make the state happy. And we've got enough wire here to wire nut it together. So we're gonna go ahead now, drag it over to the well and drop her in. These pumps look small because they are, but they pack a big wallop for what they are. I love these pumps. Now that the pump is in the well, I can show you, we got the grout all brought up to the surface. Right now the pipe still has some memory in it. That's why it's kind of up and over a little bit. Sometimes when you're dealing with thick wall casing, this is SDR21, the inside diameter of it is 6 1/8 of an inch. The well seal, 6 1/4. So what I do is I'll take a claw hammer and I'll tap the claw around this rubber, and it'll wedge that rubber down into the seat and then get the well seal to push down. That's why it is that way. Over time, over the next like 30 minutes, the coiled memory of the pipe, now that it's hanging vertical in the well, will go away and the system will naturally want to hang straight. Because it's only 75 feet, that's why it's at an angle, because of the memory and the coil of the pipe. So it's not really a big deal. That will all take care of itself. Once we get the trench all the way here, we'll go ahead, hook it up, and then that well seal will sit nice and flat and flush. But right now, Dad's over there with the excavator, finishing the trench for the large power cable for his future garage, and then the ditch for the yard hydrant. So that will be the next step of the process. I'm gonna go ahead now, since he's still working on that, still has to bring a trench here. I'm gonna work on the basement entry, put my sleeve in with my Ferncos and all that, and then we'll be good to go for putting a pipe through the wall and a wire, and then we'll start the process of doing the yard hydrant. So, a lot going on here, guys, a lot going on here. Let me know what you think in the comment section. This far into it, let me know what you think about this system. So this is my little basement entry sleeve, right? Now, this is a Fernco. That was one piece. I cut it in half. Give myself this much room for the inside. I'm going to kind of give you a quick little understanding of why I put it there. So it's basically, the sleeve's going to stop right here flush with this, because we can't have any fittings come through here, so our pipe and our wire is going to come through. And I can push it through a little bit more if I want to. But we're basically going to slather all this area here with our MP1 caulk all the way around it. slide it in, and we're gonna twist it, get it all nice and covered, and then Mike's gonna sit here and hold his hand against this pipe. I'm gonna go outside, put more caulking on the outside, and I'm gonna slip the other Fernco from the outside this way. And it's gonna sandwich the concrete wall in between both of the Ferncos, creating a nice waterproof seal. So see how much of that caulk I've got on there? I'm gonna go ahead and slide this in. Once it touches, we're gonna sit here and start turning it.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay. And then Mike's gonna sit here and hold his hand against this. And you see how much residual that we have around it? So all that excess caulk right there, we're gonna even add more to it on the inside, and that's gonna help it seal. All right, I'm gonna go to the outside now. Mike's gonna hold his hand on this, and we're gonna make the thing complete. All right, made our way out here. We're gonna go ahead, take this stuff, get it all around it. It really doesn't matter if I miss a spot, because the Fernco itself, I'm gonna spin it, and because I'm spinning it, it's gonna kind of mix it all around. All right, so now that I've got that coated, I'm gonna come out here. I use the clamped side to go inward. That way the clamping force of this is close to it. This is why you gotta have somebody inside holding it, because of how hard it is to push this rubber on this pipe. Okay, now that we're here, we're gonna go ahead and start turning. All right, that's good. Now I take a little spit on my finger, like so. Makes a nice seal all the way around, and this stuff doesn't stick to you terribly. If you don't wet your finger when you do this, it's gonna stick to you so bad, and you're gonna rock with it on your hand for about the next 4 or 5 days. So now that we've got that, we're gonna take our clamp, slide our clamp on, get it on there, and we're gonna face the head of the clamp upward like that to where we can actually access it. And the next little step I'm not gonna be able to show you because I need both hands, but I'm gonna tighten this clamp while I'm pushing this inward. That way I can pull the pipe a little, push the Fernco a little, and then clamp it down, and that gives it that nice sandwich effect. Cool, got it done. Go back around here again. I'm just decorating it like it was a cake. Make it look nice and pretty. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. You see this like taper right here? I'm gonna do the same thing inside against that wall. That's why I cut it out so big, so I can get my hand in there. Now, when it comes to putting the pipe in the wire through here, I like to push about 2 feet of pipe and then just slather it with the MP1 caulk, and then push that big old plug of the caulk in there, and I just keep dumping it. I use an entire tube of caulking when it comes time to put my 1-inch PVC pipe through this sleeve. We've got our main water lines laid out. Before we can penetrate the wall with the water line, we have got to stick our gray wire through the sleeve first, because the 1.5 inch PVC sleeve, once you put a 1-inch pipe through it, you have very, very little room left. So you need to put the wire through first, then you can force the pipe through it. Then you put all your caulk around it and then push it in. Everything has to be done in steps and in stages. If you skip a step and you jump to, say, step 6 and you haven't done step 5, you might back yourself into a corner, have to start all over. This way, once I get it to the wall, I can keep plumbing. Whether I plumb inside or plumb outside, it doesn't matter. But the wire's got to go through first. So I got the wire ran through there, but I can't push the pipe through yet because I don't know if I have enough wire in the basement. So let's go in the basement and make sure we have enough. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna say I have plenty. I'm gonna say I have plenty. I'm probably gonna end up with maybe like 8 foot of excess, because we're gonna come here, we're gonna 90 down, we're gonna come this direction, we're gonna follow it over and then go in there. So this is probably it. So yeah, I'll probably have 4.5 foot left over. So that's good. That's good. I need to find a dustpan so I can sweep all this crap up. Since we have plenty of wire in the basement, now it's time to stick the pipe through the sleeve. Now, we know that our sleeve is roughly 16 inches because I cut all my sleeves between 16 and 18 inches. We don't need but so much pipe sticking through the wall. Let's just say 12 foot or 12 inches and I'll cut it off. So this would be your 16 to 18 inch mark. Here's another 12. We're gonna go ahead, mark it here. That's where I'm gonna stop pushing this pipe through that sleeve. All right, here's my mark. Got this all slathered with NP1, about 6 inches of it. I'm gonna go ahead and stick it in. We're gonna give it a little twist and a turn as we go. See how it kind of pulls up there? Put a little spit on our finger. We're gonna wad it up right there. We don't want any of this stuff coming through the other side of the sleeve, or it's just gonna make it a mess on our pipe, right? So we come around here, I'm gonna pack that all in, okay? I'm gonna give it another little push because we want it to stop right in that area. All right, we're good. We're gonna do the same thing. Take a little spit on our finger. Get it to go around. If you have any open pockets, you just take your caulking gun and fill in those open pockets. Now we've got a big old glob of seal that we've twisted and pushed, and it's all in this area. I haven't had a basement entry leak in I don't know how many years. I've had them break due to the basements and stuff, all this being backfill and this settling. I've had that happen. That to me, that's almost like, I don't know how you get away from that. Personally speaking, I like it when they put a basement in like months and months and months prior to us doing the system. That way it gives time for the ground and the rain and everything for the soil to compact itself. That's why I always try to keep my basement entries really close to the footprint of the base of the ground here, you know, of the bottom of my ditch. And I slowly taper it away. It looks like I've got 4 inches of gap here, but I really don't. If you come back here, my pipe is touching. And this is only about a 2.5 foot span that I taper down to where I can access underneath everything with the caulking gun, with the hammer drill, everything that I need to. Then I'll come back here. Sometimes I'll actually get like a saw treated 2x4 or something, and I'll set it under here just as a support for this to rest on for when we cover it up. Other times I'll get really, really loose dirt. I'll fill it in with a shovel, and then I'll pack it with my foot, like underneath the pipe. Just little tricks of the trade. Cool. We're good. We're done here. We got to make sure that we don't pull this out when it comes time to doing any of the other stuff. Normally, the trench is already done, and this is just a little bit different. And then to add to the whole chaos and confusion, we have to now cut the pipe and put a T right here. It's going to be a Schedule 80 T. It's going to be this heavy duty sucker. This is going to go here, and that's going to feed the yard hydrant. Me and Mike just finished putting in the yard hydrant. Got it all leveled, transitioned over to our pipe. Gravel at the bottom, a little layer of dirt, and then we just pour like 40 pounds of dry cement, and then we put dirt on top of it. A lot of people like putting metal rods in. I simply just like to use dry concrete. If you don't mix it in the 20 years line, you need to dig it up, smack it once with a sledgehammer. It literally breaks in half. You pick the two pieces out and you replace it. It's literally that simple. But if you pre-mix it and you pour liquid, that's when it really gets hard. That's when it really gets hard. But Dad's all finished with the trench. So he's gonna be out there hooking up the wellhead, and I'm fixing to take my pipe and all my fittings and my tools into the basement, and we're gonna start hooking up to the tank. We've got to do our wire hookup to the pressure switch and connect to the pipe that I carried through the basement wall. Homeowner's running his main feed to his future garage. He's running that in the ditch right now. And the sun is out in full force. I think it's probably low 90s right now. Really, really hot. So I'm gonna take all this stuff in the basement and get started. Back in the basement, first things first is we're taking this check valve out of the equation, because if we leave the check valve there, the hydrant doesn't work, or the spigot at the wellhead doesn't work per our state requirements. So we're gonna go ahead and take that check valve out. I personally do not like check valves at the tank. If you absolutely positively want to put one at the tank, put it on the outgoing side of the tank, because the incoming side allows for back pressure to push against the wellhead, which helps the check valve and the pump seal. If this holds back all the pressure, then the check valve down in the pump only sees head pressure. If the pump check valve ever started to leak, it will leak down, causing an air pocket in the inside of the pipe. Then when the pump kicks on, it'll send that air pocket into the tank, and then you'll have bursts of air coming out during like your first 2 minutes of your shower, and then it'll go away. And then the next night, it'll happen again. They're very slow, very, like, you know, 1 in 50 or 1 in 100 do that. But a lot of times people complain about air, and it comes to the fact that there's a check valve at the tank, the one in the well leaking slowly. A lot of times if you just take the one out of the tank, it puts enough back pressure on it all the time to force the check valve down to seal. So we're going to go ahead, take this check valve, good God, off. Man. Tighten the dog snot out of this thing. Man. I went ahead and put wood underneath it, because I tried taking it apart once, and it's like they put it together in a vise or something. Really, really, really tight. It's just a unnecessary part in this equation here. Okay, that's good. Now we got to find our fitting to go in that, which is right here. This is gonna go inside of that, but I gotta put pipe dope on it and get it all sent down. He also has a low pressure cutout switch that's a 3050. So because the Grundfos pump has a soft start feature, typically you have a pressure difference in the tank 2 pounds below the cut on. So that means you would put 38 pounds of air, or 28 pounds of air pressure in the tank. Because we have a Grundfos and it has the soft start, it takes about 3 or 4 seconds for that pump to ramp up. So we're gonna drop the air pressure in the tank to 25 psi. That gives a little bit more leeway. It gives 5 psi of leeway for the pump to kick on rather than 2 psi. Because sometimes, especially when we're dealing with a low pressure cutout switch, we don't want the soft start feature of the pump tripping the low pressure cutout switch off. That's totally a possibility. That's why I do not like low pressure cutout switches, especially on a well that makes a lot of water. It's just totally unnecessary. There's no need for a low pressure cutout switch. They prevent one person from diagnosing the system by themselves. It requires somebody to literally sit down here and hold this thing like this while you're upstairs diagnosing the system. It's a little frustrating, but that's what we're given, so that's what we're going to use. Okay, we're going to jump over here to this. Rather than going straight down, we're going to go over, then we're going to go down. And it keeps our pipe really close to the edge of the basement wall over there, and then we're going to come here, we're going to 90, and we're going to bring it really close to the edge of the tank. This is going to prevent anybody from stepping on the pipe, breaking the pipe, so on and so forth. Okay, so I've got the plumbing and electrical all done. I still got to go in here and smooth out my Sure-Wall caulk, but got my wire coming down, got it close to the wall, carried it down, Got my pipe as close to the ground as possible, and we use this salt treated 2x4 here to kind of support the pipe. It goes all the way along this. Over here next to the tank, I transitioned over to flex conduit to keep it nice and clean. I didn't have to use any conduit. I could have just done like the yellow wire here, but I feel like it's neater. And system's all done. That's what it looks like. Now, 30-50 switch, we can't forget. Need to have the tank set correctly. They all come pre-charged with way too much. See, that's way too much pressure, even for a 40-60 switch. We got to drop that 40 pounds all the way down to 25. So let me see this. This is the fastest way to do it. All right, let's see. 25.5. Perfect. Now nothing left to do. We'll go outside, make sure Dad's got the wellhead all hooked up, and then we can actually turn the breaker on and energize this system. Alright, he's got the wellhead all done. Go ahead and pack right here around it. That looks good. I gotta get my wrench. I'll get my little pipe vise, little Amigo down here and tighten these up. I gotta get my caulk to plug that hole. Let's make sure this is off. Nope. Okay. Alright, I'm going to go in the house and energize the system. He should be done covering in 20-30 minutes. Okay, back to the action. Let's go ahead and pop this open. Figure out which one of these is going to be the well pump. I have no idea. Looks like he ain't labeled nothing. Alright. He probably has a sheet. Let me go ask him. Okay, so I just found his sheet. Look right here, it looked well pump used to be 7, now well pump is 13. Well, guess what? Looks like he put it on a 115 volt breaker, not a 230 volt breaker. Water heater, well pump, makes no sense. So I gotta go talk to him. You always gotta double check homeowners, especially when they do their own wiring. So while he's taking apart the panel box and we're gonna reconfigure the wiring, I came back out here to where we can work on the basement entry. I've got to support it. So what I like to do is I'll just take this, I'll put that right like so. That way when we cover the ditch today, it doesn't put so much weight on it. You see what I'm saying? That'll give it a little bit of support. And then it doesn't bend any of the stuff or pull any of this sealing agents that I've got here. Won't pull it out of the wall because we're going to put a lot of dirt weight on it. Take that, pack that there, kick this like so, pack it on with your foot. All the fine little details. I mean, you could just be, you know, gorilla tough about it and just say screw it and cover it up and not worry about it, but it's just not how I do things. Little fine details. Come back here, look at the T. Okay, nothing's in a bind, everything looks good. Pack that around that like so. Alright. That's good. I'm gonna start picking all this stuff up and then I'm gonna go in the basement and rewire a panel box. So we're back at the panel box and we finangled the wires. The white was all the way mixed through all the other whites. We had to figure out which one went there. And we believe that these are the two that went together that follow that yellow wire up, over, and down. So I'm gonna go ahead and tie these onto my 240 volt breaker. We moved these little mini breakers up one to where it gave us access for a double breaker. So I had this in my truck and we're gonna go ahead and hook this in, see if it works. Okay, now since we've switched that white wire to 240 volts and I'm being kind of lazy, we're just gonna indicate that wire is black with some tape, and homeowner says he'll take a magic marker and paint that in later. Okay, we're good to go, boss. Now we're gonna open this. That way we'll let out all the air. We'll energize the system now. And then the way you do this is by lifting this lever, but we're not going to do that because my thumb is going to hate me after holding it for that amount of time. I'm just going to hold the contacts like so. We should start hearing air. You can hear air coming out of that. So the minute I hear water rush in the pipes, I'm going to stop. But right now I'm bleeding off all the air out of the system. There it is.
Well, if you didn't time out it good.
Oh yeah.
You've done it before, ain't you?
Oh yeah. A couple times. A couple thousand times. Let's see. We got pressure coming up. Yep. Bladder's gonna pop. Okay. Switch is doing its thing. It's got enough pressure to hold itself open now. Okay. Let's watch her pump up and kick off. That's a really good pump. She should pump up this tank rather quickly. The idea is we want to get, you know, a 30-second cycle time. So we want it to take about 30 seconds to fill the tank up. Based on this, that's about what we're getting to. I started recording at, what, a minute 38 seconds. We're at 2:08 right now. It's gonna click. Yep, okay. 25 seconds. Beautiful, sir, beautiful. Okay. Now we can go outside and run some water at the hydrant, saturate the ground, and that will help the cement at the hydrant set up. Looks like Dad's pretty much finished. Let's let the air out of this. Oh yeah. This will get any of the residual glue out of all the PVC pipe. It'll blow it all out here. That SQ-250, man, it just straight up throws out water. Insane pressure out of that pump. One of my favorite pumps. There it is. Pump just kicked on. That's the flow coming out of the pump. Absolutely incredible. It's a hellacious amount of pressure. Yes, sir. Okay. Created a little hole. Pack it in. It'll do its job. That looks nice and straight. I'm happy with that. Looks like Dad's pretty much done. We're pretty much done. Hot dog. How's it look here at the house, Mike? That looks good to me. Oh, need to
go get it and put it in one more bucket right there.
Let's pack it down a little bit and then it'll honestly be fine. It's gonna settle regardless.
Yeah.
The homeowner's got a backhoe, so he can move stuff around.
I told him to bring one more bucket.
Okay. Good deal. Well, that marks the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Hope it gave you some tips for if you want to install your system yourself, or if you do this for a living, you see something I do different than the way you do and you want to change yours up, you know, copy what I do. If there's constructive criticism, drop it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about all that we did here. We got here at 10:45 and I believe it's 2:11 right now, so I think we knocked this out in about 3.5 hours. So full complete system, yard hydrant, extra ditch for his big power cable to his future garage, a whole lot of little things just kind of added up here. But haven't made any content recently. It's been like 95 degrees, super high humidity here on the East Coast, and to be completely honest, it's a lot of work to film. I do everything on my phone. The phone gets overheated, and me personally, I'm just not in a good mood when I'm in, you know, high heat, 98, 99, 95 with 90% humidity. It just flat out just pulls every bit of energy out of my body. And I'm always kind of watching Dad, because He's pushing 70, and I'm always paying attention to him to make sure he's not overworking himself, because the brain says you can, but the body says you can't, you know. So make sure you give the video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I've already made it to 100,000. The next goal is 1 million. So help me make it to 1 million subscribers. And if anybody's going to the water well convention down in South Carolina, we'll see y'all there. Peace.